public for attending today. I hope you will all join me in sending our condolences to the King on the news of the sad death of the Duchess of Kent. And please also remain standing whilst we hold a minute's silence for the sad passing of former councillor and alderman Gary Gregory. Thank you, members. Please be seated. Before we start formal business, I'm going to ask if any members would like to say a few words regarding Gary Gregory. Councillor Clark.
Mr. Mayor, as people know, that Gary was a good friend of mine, and for many, many years before he even got involved in politics, and obviously being in the Carlton area. But it's what people didn't see that he's done, and that's incredible. And I've been with him because he's a big supporter of the Child Cancer Trust, and I've been with him when he's gone to the City Hospital and seen the work and some of the money that he's raised, and along with Karen as well, because they work together as a team, and that will be sadly missed. And again, I think even out on the East Coast at the lifeboat station at Skegness, and I know one time he rang me up, he says, I've nearly got killed, and they were pushing a bed from Mablethorpe. Well, anybody that knows what the roads are like, Mike does in Lincolnshire, and I certainly do, they're all as if somebody was drunk when they put the roads down, and he pushed this bed down there, and they raised raised thousands of pounds for that. There are loads of other things that he's done, but it continued, even after finishing here, carried on doing work for people and for different organisations. So it'd be a sad loss to not only to Karen. I've seen Karen today. She's as well as she could be expected. But sat with her with some of the pensioners, and you can do that when you're a pensioner, can't you? Because I've got a club badge now. On a Wednesday morning, and listening to some of the tales. But he was very, very well liked in the area. Very well liked by the people. Certainly, people at County Hall have expressed their sadness at the loss of Gary. So with that, let's hope we can carry on his good work.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to say that Gary was a really lovely guy. He was a lovely friend, and he did help an awful lot of people. And he represented them very well and was very well respected by them. And that, at the end of the day, is all you want as a councillor, is that people respect you for all that you've done for them. And they did. And when they came to the funeral, there was loads of people who were saying what a lovely, lovely guy he was. And I'm so proud that he was our friend, Peter and mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Adams.
Thank you. Yes, just to say, he was well liked across our group, and he was, when I first got elected here, he was one of the councillors that was a part of that first period, and I always got on with him. I found him a really affable character. He didn't see politics in his friendships or his conversations, and we always had sort of a good giggle about different things, and I think he seemed to look at the whole thing with an element of joy to it, which I always liked. And I know we once got an opportunity to have a pint once, and it was good, and we had a really nice chat. And I know, as I said, my group got on with him very well, and he will be missed. And I just want to send all of our best wishes and to his family, and obviously during the difficult time of losing somebody like that, who I'm sure is a big loss to all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For 4 years, one term, Gary and I both represented Valley Ward, the old Valley Ward, and we might have been political opponents, but we always got on well together, worked together, and his commitment and work rate to the people that he represented was very, very high. He worked very, very hard, and he did an awful lot in raising money for charity, as John has indicated. So he will be missed, and if you could pass on my condolences to Karen.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Councillor Viv McCrossan.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to say that I was at the funeral myself and Ron, and what a lovely sending off that Gary got. He was a very committed, passionate councillor. He was very supportive for Ron and I when we've been mayor. Him and Karen always supported everything that we did. He was very popular in his constituency. He worked very hard. He did get very uptight sometimes because he was a passionate man, and you know, but he was a very loyal man. He was a very nice man, and him and Karen worked really well as a partnership. And Vauxhall Court, he was so popular at Vauxhall Court, but he did a lot of work for charity, and like I say, always supported us with our charities when we were raising money. And he will be missed. And again, to send our condolences to Karen, who and the family for the very sad loss. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to echo what colleagues have said. I think two things struck me on the time immediately after the funeral, which was a really fitting and lovely tribute by Karen and the family to Gary, not just for his service to the Labour Party and to Gedling Borough Council, but also the work he did in education and the wider work he did in the community. When we arrived at Vauxhall Court, who had rang Karen within, I think, a couple of hours of finding out that Gary had passed away and offered to host the wake at the community centre at Vauxhall Court, the first thing that Tony said to me, who chairs the committee at Vauxhall Court, is that they wouldn't have been able to host a wake like that if it wasn't for Gary Gregory while he was alive, because he had their entire kitchen refurbished and the community centre, and actually a lot of residents who live in Vauxhall Court who are isolated would not have the facilities they had without the work of Gary and indeed some of the other councillors he worked alongside. And the second thing, perhaps slightly more emotional, when I rang Karen the night I found out while we were on holiday, when I got the sad news that he'd passed away in a very untimely fashion, Karen told me on the phone that the paramedics who had tried to save Gary when he sadly collapsed were from the air ambulance, at the East Midlands Air Ambulance, and they recognised him when they attended because of the thousands of pounds that he'd raised for the East Midlands Air Ambulance over the years, and they were not only personally devastated from a professional perspective that they couldn't save him, but they were even more upset that actually this was somebody who'd allowed them to continue to do their work. And these are a group of people who aren't funded by government or by councils or local authorities. They're funded by voluntary contributions. And I think that just speaks to the measure of the man and the impact that he had. And really my thoughts, and I think the thoughts of the entire council, need to be with Karen. For many a year, Gary looked after a lot of people. He trudged the streets for Vernon Coker, for Darryl Polk, for Jim, for other people, even before he was elected as a councillor here. And I think in the same way that he and Karen looked out for people, yes, in the Labour Party, but more widely in the community, it's really important now that we in the Labour Party and in this council look out for Karen, as she's now got to struggle with having lost a lifelong loved one. So I just wanted to really say all my love and thoughts to Karen and the wider family on the untimely loss of Gary.
Thank you very much. I will pass on all those comments to Karen.
I think Peter Barnes wants to speak, but
He's not able to. No, I don't think you're allowed to, Peter. I'm afraid. Thank you, Peter. We haven't started the formal business, so I will allow that one. Move on to item 1, thought for the day. One of the mayor's mime chaplain, Reverend O'Kane, is here, and he's going to give the thought for the day in prayers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, or evening. I'm not sure what we class it as. It's a real pleasure and privilege to be with you today in the capacity of as Mayor's chaplain, and I'm very sorry to be here at a time of the loss of a friend and a colleague. Wednesday mornings at St. Paul's is our prayer morning. Some of us gather together and we pray for things for the world, locally, just kind of whatever's on our hearts. And this morning, a friend of mine, Jackie Fuller, who does a lot of stuff at St. Tim's in the community, she was breaking her heart, if I'm honest, at the state of things. And I'm not going to go into what we were talking about, but I want to say that one of the things we were able to draw on from the last sort of week, something that gave us hope, something that gave us motivation to keep working and striving towards a unity within community, was the civic service on Saturday. We, as a church community, for myself, it was a real pleasure and just a joyous occasion to see people from different parts of society, from different cultures, come together and really represent unity within the diversity. From a Christian perspective, we believe in the Trinity, and we're not going to try and do the maths right now. But essentially, that three is a diverse, unified thing. So as a Christian community at St. Paul's, we are just so encouraged and want to support this theme of inclusivity this year. So I will I will pray for your meeting, and I look forward to seeing you all at some point soon. Loving God, we have gathered today to dedicate ourselves. Oh, that's the one from the Saturday. My apologies. All these civic prayers, dear. This one, yeah. Lord of unity and peace, we ask for your blessing on this meeting and those gathered here today, and the work that each of them do in service to our community. Grant them wisdom and discernment, and help them to lead and govern with kindness, integrity, and with a commitment to the well-being of the community. We pray that all people in this borough would work and live well together, finding unity and joy in each other's diversity, and let those here present be models of that in their life and work. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend O'Kane. Move on to item 2, apologies. Can I ask the relevant members to confirm if we have any apologies, please? Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies, please, from Councillors Roy and Pauline Allen, Councillor Alex Scroggy, and also, if I've not spotted him yet, apologies for lateness from Councillor David Brocklebank. He should be here later.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Sam Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies from Councillor Pickering.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
All present and correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Whiting.
Both here, sir.
Thank you very much. They are all noted. I'm now going on to move on to my Mayor's announcements. I hope you'll indulge me for a minute or two just while I say a few thank yous over the summer and the different events that I've been to. It's been very busy and rewarding over summer, and it's been great to celebrate some wonderful people and organisations from across the borough. I was delighted to join Daybrook Bowls Club for their annual summer fair. As many of you will know, the club celebrated its centenary last year, having been founded back in 1924 for employees of the home brewery. And it's inspiring to see the club continue to go from strength to strength, with membership growing across all age groups. And I just want to say thank you for the hard work of Carl Martinscroft and the new committee there, who are doing some great work. I also want to thank our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sandra Barnes, for leading the VJ Day 80 commemorations at our Civic Centre. This was such an important occasion to show our respect and gratitude to our veterans and to our current armed forces personnel. One of the real highlights of my summer was visiting the Loco Centre to see the holiday activities and food programme in action. I joined Michael Payne MP and Councillor Alison Hunt for a litter pick with the children and young people who were taking part in the programme. Together we cleared Jackie Bell's play park before heading back to the Loco Centre for a nutritious lunch, and I must say, some excellent homemade ice cream. My thanks go to Tina Simpson and the team of volunteers who make this programme possible, and I was delighted to hear that the government funding has now been extended for a further 3 years, ensuring that families will continue to receive this vital support during the school holidays. At the beginning of September, I had the pleasure of opening the Lamley Village show. Congratulations to Dawn Edwards, MBE, and the committee for all their hard work in making the event such a success. The show, which has been running for over 50 years, has been revitalised in recent years to make it an even more enjoyable for families, and it really was a fantastic day. Following this, I joined Councillor Wheeler on the same day, actually, and Jackie Wilson from Positively Empowered Kids at their fun day on Killissick Recreation Ground. This was another uplifting event, giving young people a chance to build confidence and showcase their talents. It was also a pleasure to attend a film screening of My Niece's Big Fat Deli Wedding at the Bonington Theatre, produced by Arnold-born Haresh Sood. The film was bursting with culture, colour, dance, food, family and love, and it beautifully showcased an amazing wedding in India. Michael and I were pleased to welcome Councillor Manjula Sood, Assistant Leicester City Mayor and High Bailiff, to Gedling for the screening. In terms of fundraising, I'd like to thank James at Taste First and Arnold for hosting a wine tasting evening in aid of the Mayor's charities, raising over £300. And of course, a heartfelt thank you to everyone who attended my civic service on Saturday, which raised £450 for my chosen charities. We were treated to some wonderful performances from former Youth Mayor Freddie Vokes and children from the Ukrainian language school band. The theme of the service was friendship, kindness and inclusion, values that are all at the heart of our community today. My thanks also go to Reverend Liam O'Kane and the team at St Paul's Church in Daybrook, to Zara Burton of Cakes by Zara Lou for generously providing the catering free of charge, and to Emma McGinley and our civic office team for their invaluable help in organising such a meaningful event. It has been a summer full of community spirit, friendship and generosity, and I'm proud to see so many people working hard to support each other, and I look forward to continuing that work in the months ahead. And just a date for your diaries, if you'd like to join my quiz night on Friday the 10th of October here at the Civic Centre. More information will be sent out shortly, but if you'd like to get a team together, please do so, as all the proceeds will go to the Mayor's charities, the Motor Neurone Disease Association and the MNDA Nottingham branch. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the next item, item 4. To approve the minutes of the meetings held on the 5th of March, the 23rd of July and the 30th of July. Can I ask Councillor Clark to move and Councillor Hollingsworth to second, please?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just before I do that, thank you for the work you're doing in the community, but I also would recommend people that Reverend O'Kane there about Saturday, and it was just something different. I mean, there's a lot of horrible stuff happening every day. And particularly on Saturday, when there's some awful people gathered in London, which was unbelievable. I've not seen that on the streets for a long, long while. But it was pleasant to be in the church with ordinary people, and also for the young people from the Ukrainian section of our community, and the way that youth choir has grown. And it has grown over, when they all came, and it's great to see them now, where they, most of the adults, when I first went to the Ukrainian centre, most of the people there couldn't speak any English at all, and my Ukraine's about zilch. So, but the children have helped, as we've seen in many cases there. But it was a pleasure to go. I mean, he said to the prayer, I mean, not everybody's religious or anything like that, but if it is opened on a Wednesday, it's the same as over in All Hallows. Is it Wednesday there, Jenny? Where people can just drop in and just have a cup of tea or whatever, and a talk to people. So I think we ought to be pushing that in our media or wherever for the council, because it was really welcomed. But it was an excellent day, and also the fact that the person who supplied the buffet did it for nothing. And I think that's well worth mentioning, who is one of our businesses in the council area. So I'll move on to item 4, which is to prove as a correct record the minutes of the meetings held on 5th of March, 23rd of July and the 30th of July 2025. I move that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark, for your comments and for moving the report. The minutes. Councillor Hollingsworth?
Seconded, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Have we got any comments on this, please? Councillor Meads first.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The 23rd of July, my supplementary question's not in, or the answer.
We're just checking.
Oh, just while you're on as well, Councillor Walker's supplementary question's not in either.
Yeah, the minutes aren't verbatim, but we can add them.
Yeah,
we can add them in. Those two that you've mentioned.
I feel with mine the answer wasn't correct, so
okay,
I want it in.
We'll arrange for that to be added.
Well, can you just say Councillor Walker's now Councillor Allen for the?
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Yeah, she had
Thank you.
She had a 19-year whirlwind romance and got married. Here, actually.
Thank you, Councillor Meads. Well, congratulations. Councillor Allen, is it? So we've got 3 Allens now, have we? Thank you. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just with your forbearance, the minutes obviously make reference to the amazing work that goes on day in, day out by officers of the council, much of which wouldn't happen without the dedication of the officers. On the 3rd of October this year, I think one of our best officers this council's ever had is departing Gedling, and I just wanted to pay, at this juncture, personal tribute to him. Rob McCleary's worked for Gedling Borough Council for 22 years. He started Gedling Borough Council as a council tax assistant, then went to work in customer services, did an outstanding job in customer services, and I got to know him in 2012, a year into being deputy leader of the council, when he became a comms officer, communications officer, obviously rising through the ranks to be our communications and marketing head for the council latterly. Sadly, he is leaving and moving on to pastures new on the 3rd of October. I have to say that I've worked with many an officer over my time in local government. He has served this council with absolute distinction, and this council would not have been able to articulate the things it's done for its residents and the businesses in this area without the hard work of Rob. And that's not just been 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. That's sometimes been taking the call of me or the leader or the chief executive or many other people 24 hours a day, working weekends. I think he's been exemplary. I think he's been highly professional. I think he's a person of deep integrity. Both he and Caroline, who I'm now fortunate enough to benefit from working in my office as the Member of Parliament, have both served this council with distinction. But I just truly wish Rob the absolute best. I think he is going to be a massive loss to Gedling, a huge asset to the place that he's moving to. I know he'll continue as a proud Arnold resident to contribute to the community in the way that he has done over so many years. But if you watch him, Rob, on a personal level as well as a professional level, I am hugely grateful for the service that you've given to this council and the advice and support you've given to me personally as well.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll all second those comments. I can add that during my short time, I've always felt Rob has been very supportive in helping with all sorts of different things, sometimes even just me being mayor, actually assisting with some of the events and just helping wherever he can. Sometimes it's the little things that make the big difference, but I second those comments, and I'm sure other members will too. Unless there's any other comments or to add, I'm going to ask John to move the minutes with the amendments that have been put forward by Councillor Meads, please.
Yep, will do, Mr Mayor. So I'll move those with when they're added into it, and that'll become the true record.
And Councillor Hollingsworth.
Seconded, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So with those amendments, I'm going to move that to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? No. Thank you very much, members. We'll move on to the next item, which is item 5, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members? Thank you then. I'll move on. Move on to item 6, petitions under procedural rule. Chief Executive, are there any?
There are none, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item 7, questions asked by the public under Procedural Rule 7.7. Mike, we have received 2 questions from members of the public. Are they in attendance at all?
Can't see them, Mr. Mayor.
No. Okay, so I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind reading the first question, Mike. Thank you. And this is from Joan Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have you considered the effect of the Wighay housing development on the inadequate healthcare, road networks, secondary schools and flooding issues in Hucknall, which, due to the location of the development, will mean residents living in the houses will be reliant on the already inadequate infrastructure currently in place? Thank you.
Councillor Hollingsworth to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank Joan Sharp for the question. The Council did have and will continue to have careful regard to all the matters that Ms Sharp has raised in her question. When determining the application, the Council consulted with statutory and other specialist consultees who all provided appropriate advice. The impact of the development is mitigated through the imposition of conditions under Section 106 legal agreement. The Section 106 agreement requires the housing developer to provide land for the construction of a primary school, along with a contribution of £4.75 million for its delivery. Other Section 106 contributions include £802,500 towards highways, which includes public transport provision, and £436,209 towards healthcare improvements, along with extensive areas of open space within the development. Ms Sharp asks also about secondary school provision. In 2015, the Council approved a community infrastructure contribution towards necessary secondary school places arising from the development of Top Wighay. Community infrastructure levy is a charge on the development which is not covered by Section 106 contributions. On the 4th of December this year, following a review of the strategic element of the SIL, Council confirmed that this secondary school contribution will remain on the SIL Community Infrastructure Levy strategic list. The total estimated SIL liability for the consented development at Top Wighay is approximately £4.75 million, and Limby Parish Council would be entitled to 25% of that receipt collected to be spent on appropriate infrastructure projects within the parish. In terms of drainage, detailed technical information has been provided, and this has been independently assessed by technical experts at the County Council and the Environment Agency. Mr Mayor, I hope this reassures Ms Sharp that the concerns she raises have been carefully considered and addressed.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. I will now move on to the next question, and this was from Jodie Anna Van Alten.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Given the rapid pace of development being permitted across the borough, how does the Council justify continuing to approve large-scale projects when the supporting infrastructure, such as roads, healthcare, schools and public transport, is already stretched to its limits and in many cases operating at or beyond capacity? This situation appears increasingly unsustainable for both existing and new residents. Can you outline the Council's strategic agenda to ensure that infrastructure investment keeps pace with development and that essential services are not pushed to the brink? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you again. I'd like to thank Jodie Anna Van Elten for the question. The method for calculating the minimum local housing need is set by national government and is known as the standard methodology. In December 2024, the National Planning Policy was revised and set a minimum requirement for 631 new homes to be delivered within the borough per annum. If the Council is unable to deliver this number of homes or cannot demonstrate a housing land supply of 5 years, there will be significant risk of applications and speculative development taking place in less sustainable locations in the borough. The Council is currently progressing the Gedling Local Development Plan, which will include policies and allocations for future growth within the borough. The Council will continue to work closely with partners and stakeholders, including Nottinghamshire County Council and the NHS, to assure that appropriate infrastructure improvements are delivered, which will mitigate the impact of any planned development. The Gedling Local Development Plan will be supported by an infrastructure delivery plan, which will use evidence to set out the type of infrastructure improvements such as schools, highway improvements, health provision, which will all be required to support the identified growth within the borough. The Council also secures infrastructure contributions through Section 106 agreements, which provide mitigation for any direct impacts of development, and also through the Community Infrastructure Levy, which helps fund other necessary infrastructure projects. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So we'll now move on to item 8, which is questions asked by members under Procedural Rule 7.9. Mike, have we received questions?
Mr. Mayor, we've received 5 questions from members.
Thank you. Can I just add that all members asking questions ensure that supplementary questions, if asked, are questions and not wider commentary. Similarly, answers to questions and supplementary questions are not for debate. And if members do start to go off topic and not ask a question, I will have to stop you from asking it. So I'm going to start with Councillor Whiting. Please ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In asking this question, can I say how good it is to have Councillor Hollingsworth back with us? Can I please ask, following recent media reports about the increased number of allotment sites being developed into housing, can Cabinet reassure us that Gedling Borough has no allotment sites in future housing plans and will not entertain any planning application to develop allotment sites in future?
Thank you very much. Councillor McCrossan's going to answer this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Whiting, for your question. I do have allotments in my portfolio, so we're sharing out this evening. Allotments within the borough are currently designated as protected open spaces in the adopted local planning document 2018. Any proposals on these sites must be in accordance with policy LPD 20, protection of open spaces, which seeks to ensure that allotments and any other open spaces are retained unless there are exceptions detailed in the policy. There are 2 allotment sites in the Council's strategic housing land supply, which is used to identify and assess possible future housing sites. These are G1152, which is the Robin Hood Carlton allotments, and G1137 Lee Pool allotments, Red Hill. Both sites were submitted to the SHLAA, which is the Strategic Housing Land Supply, in 2019 by the Council's property team as part of a review undertaken at that time. Any decision to dispose of a council allotment would require further consultation and approval. I can, however, confirm that there are no current plans to dispose of either allotment for the purpose of delivering houses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCrossan. Councillor Whiting, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
A very brief procedural one, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor McCrossan. You said that any disposal would need further consultation and approval. Would that be approval by full council, or is that just a planning committee decision? Do you know?
Councillor McCrossan to answer.
Yeah, in terms of that level of detail, I'd have to consult with the planning department on that. So I haven't got any further, I can't answer any further supplementaries, but we can get that information to you, Councillor Whiting.
Okay, so we'll now move on to the next question, which I believe is also from Councillor Whiting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I please ask the Leader of the Council, following the passage of a motion in July 2024 by full council, which was titled "The Current Situation in Gaza," which committed council to, quote, consider ways in which the events can be remembered in the future. Can the Leader of the Council update us on what, if any, progress has been made on this?
Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Whiting. At the current time, no substantial work has taken place to consider ways in which the events in Gaza can be commemorated in the future. The events team have a scheduled events programme which has already been agreed for the upcoming year. Work will take place shortly to see how this can be incorporated into the 26-27 programme of events for the year, and this will be reviewed by the senior leadership team and cascaded to members and the public once agreed.
Councillor Whiting, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank the Leader for that answer. Since submitting this question, obviously the United Nations has now reached the conclusion, as many of us have, that this is a genocide happening in Gaza, and I think it is important, and our residents would expect us to commemorate this. I welcome what the Leader has said. He may or may not be surprised to know that I've got some thoughts on how we might commemorate things moving forward, so perhaps we could have a chat sometime and get our heads together for a memorial as well as some events.
I don't know if, was that a question?
Could we have a chat?
Okay. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Whiting. You're on my radar because I thought, well, there needs a few of us to make it move a bit and see what we can do. I know we've got the Holocaust circle at which is now growing nicely at the country park. But somehow to mark this, the awful things that have gone off there. I get a reminder every day because I use Palestinian oil and I'm on my last bottle, and it's not easy. It was bad enough to get it before all the war was on. It's even worse now trying to get some. But I think if you'd be willing to come along and somebody from the other parties, where we can actually do something that will recognise this awful state of affairs for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Wheeler, please ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I say thank you for attending the Killicits Fun Day, which was an absolutely fantastic day. On to the question. The Freedom of Information Act and the Council's complaint system are an essential and legitimate part of democracy and governments, and both officers and members respect these requests and respond to them appropriately. However, I am aware that there are a small number of individuals who appear to target the Council and submit frequent requests for information or make regular complaints, perhaps not always with the best of intentions. Can the Leader tell me how much time has been spent by officers and estimated costs in gathering information in response to Freedom of Information requests and complaints from the top 3 correspondents of the last 4 financial years? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Henry, for the, I should say Councillor Wheeler, shouldn't it be, to correct. I will first respond to the Freedom of Information request. The Council has a statutory duty to provide information upon request in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act and Environmental Information Regulations. Recording the request, gathering the information and preparing a response takes a significant amount of time. It is not always straightforward and can involve a number of different officers across the Council. Recently, we have also experienced some of these requests taking a scattergun approach, which targets several officers and councillors, and this, of course, increases the effort involved and can duplicate the investigative work that we have to do. In some cases, there is also a request for further clarification of an answer or a review of the decision to apply an exemption to the disclosure of information. Clearly, this requires further time to be spent on each request. The Council's retention policy means that the freedom of information on environmental information data is only retained for 2 years, plus the current year. Therefore, it has not been possible to provide that information for the last 4 financial years. However, during the last 2.5 years, I can report that we have experienced 2,210 requests, and that's based on estimated average of 2.5 hours to process and respond, and using the industry standard of £25 per hour. This has cost the Council around £55,000 per year in officer time. The top 3 individuals account for 217 of these requests, around 10%. Whilst it is difficult to record all time spent on these requests, using the same average of 2.5 hours and £25 per hour. These three individuals have cost the council around £5,400 per year in officer time. I'll now move on to the complaints. The council is committed to continually improving the quality of access to the services it provides. We take a positive approach to the customer feedback and encourage customers to give us their views. The council's complaints policy has a two-stage response process, whereby following an initial response, a complainant can request the council to progress the initial complaint to a stage 2 review, and this is undertaken by a senior manager. In the last 4 financial years, we have received 3,663 stage 1 complaints and 176 stage 2 complaints. Based on the same estimated average of 2.5 hours to process and respond and costing around £25 per hour, this has now cost us around £60,000 in officer time per year. The top 3 individuals account for 47 stage 1 complaints, 9 stage 2 complaints, whilst the degree of complexity in each complaint means it is difficult to record all time spent by officers on these requests. These complaints are generally more complicated and can take up to 10 hours to deal with by a senior officer. On this basis, its estimated cost in dealing with the complaints from these 3 individuals is around £4,000 per year in officer time. Putting this into context, Mr. Mayor, the top 3 individuals between them submit around 7 requests for information and 1 complaint every month. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Wheeler, would you like to ask a supplementary?
No further questions on this, thank you.
Thank
you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We'll move on then. Councillor Meads, please ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the present time, the County Council is holding on to about £5 million in Section 106 money for school improvements from housing developments in Calverton, with the potential for much more to be handed over to them before LGR has taken place. The County Council has sat on some of this money for 4 years, and only around 10% of it has to be spent on specific Calverton schools under the terms of the various 106 agreements. Buyers of the new homes in Calverton rightly expected that part of their purchase price included money for new school improvements within the village. Since Reform have been in control of the County Council, projects have been put on hold. The same situation must exist around the borough. Is there any pressure this council can put on the County Council or reach an agreement to ensure they spend the money now on our schools and before LGR takes place, rather than on schools that would remain in the new county authority if Gedling were put in with the new city-based authority? I am aware it is the County Council's Education Department that drafts these 106 agreements, but is there any mechanism this council can use to ensure the future 106 money stays local within our area?
Thank you. Councillor Hollingsworth to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Meads excuse me, for the question. Councillor Meads, as you point out in your question, Nottinghamshire County Council are responsible for expending contributions for education in accordance with the relevant Section 106 legal agreement, which defines the planning area and the timescale for expenditure. For example, the Section 106 agreement relating to the development of 365 houses on Park Road, Calverton, requires the primary contribution of just over £1.5 million to be spent within the Calverton Primary School planning area, and the secondary school contribution of just over £1 million to be spent to expand the capacity at Colonel Frank Seeley Academy. The County Council has 12 years from the date of receipt of the final payment to spend the contributions on projects within the specified areas. Nottinghamshire County Council, as the education authority, are responsible for ensuring that schools have the required capacity. The legal agreements are a robust mechanism to ensure that education contributions are expended on expanding provision where new development takes place. I have not been made aware of any issues relating to access to primary or secondary school places in the village, or that Nottinghamshire County Council are not expending the legal section 106 monies in accordance with the legal agreement. This should take place independent of whichever party has control at County Hall. If Councillor Meads or anybody else has information that this is not the case, please get in touch. I can assure Councillor Meads that officers from Gedling Borough remain in regular contact with County Council officers regarding all Section 106 legal agreements. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Councillor Meads, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
No, thank you, but I'll contact Councillor Hollingsworth with an example of what's going off at the minute.
Thank you. Councillor Mead, please ask your second question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Over the last few summers, the northwest corner of Calverton has been blighted by a huge number of small flies. The unwanted phenomenon means that residents can no longer have their doors or windows open, which is making life uncomfortable, especially during the long hot summers. Some residents have paid for bifold doors they cannot use at all. The huge increase in flies coincided with the opening of a plastics recycling business. This business did not come through the Gedling Borough Council Planning Department, but rather through the County Council. The late Lorraine Brown headed up a campaign to try and stop this recycling business coming to Calverton with the unanimous support of the 15 parish councillors at the time, including the 2 Gedling Borough Council independent councillors. But she was unsuccessful. I'm aware that environmental health officers have been out to the business and visited residents a number of times over the last few years. Could the council confirm the latest information they have on this and to meet with me to see how we can look at eliminating this problem for the sake of the residents, and if it turns out not to be the fault of the recycling business, to clear their name? Thank you.
Councillor Ellis to answer the question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Perhaps I should start by observing that questions to full council are not necessarily the best way to address issues such as this. Officers are always available to discuss this sort of operational matter and, subject to necessary confidentiality, provide the information direct to members. Pro Environmental were given planning permission by the County Council in 2022 for a change of use to plastic recycling. Essentially, the business takes plastic waste and processes it into pellets for reuse. The business is regulated by the Environment Agency and operates under a permit granted by them. The Borough Council has powers under the Environmental Protection Act 1990 to deal with insects from industrial premises. Where a complaint of a statutory nuisance is made by a person living within its area, the Borough Council investigates the complaint. And when the Council is satisfied that a statutory nuisance exists or is likely to occur or recur, it has powers to serve an abatement notice. During the summer of 2024, complaints were received from members of the public of an increase in flies in the northwest of Calverton, and environmental health officers visited a number of commercial premises in the village to try and establish the source of any fly infestations. This included the sewage treatment works, the Veolia recycling plant, the vehicle breakers yard and Pro Environmental Recycling Centre. However, no fly infestations were witnessed. With regards to Pro Environmental, officers met with the site manager who demonstrated they have a fly management plan in place and a contract with a private pest control business to ensure that suitable control measures were in place. Officers checked their records and it was clear that pest control visits had been done at the time. So far in 2025, there have been 2 complaints to the Council about flies in the village, with the suggestion that Pro Environmental is the source, which is a significant decrease of the more than 30 complaints received in 2024. Officers have continued to monitor the situation, and I can confirm that the most recent visit was within the last 48 hours, and no concerns were identified. I think Council appreciates that fly infestations can be distressing for local people, and residents should be ensured that the Council takes reports of infestations seriously. Pro Environmental has cooperated with officers and are happy to be transparent with their pest control plan. The local management on the site have confirmed that they are willing for councillors to tour the facility by appointment to get a better understanding of their operations. And I'm sure that officers will be happy to facilitate this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Meads, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the next item then. Item 9, reports and recommendations from the Executive or a committee, Procedural Rule 7.10. There is one report to note for this item, which is 9A, the Prudential Code Indicator Monitoring 2025-26 and Treasury Activity Report for the period of April 2025 to July 2025. The recommendation is on page 41. Councillor Clark to move, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the recommendation is on page 41 and it's asking you to note, so I'll move that.
Councillor Hollingsworth to second.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Would anyone like to speak on this? No? Councillor Clark to close then, please.
Formally close.
All those in favour, please show. Any against? And any abstentions? That's clearly carried. Okay. We'll now move on to item 10, comments under Procedural Rule 7.11. There are 8 sets of minutes on this agenda. If any member would like to ask a question or make a comment about any of the minutes, would you please indicate to the page number that you are speaking about? First, minute A to D, any comments or questions? No? And we'll move on to minute E to H, any comments or questions? No? Thank you then, members. I will move on to the next item. Item 11, motions under Procedural Rule 7.12. There is one motion, and this is at the front of the agenda pack. Can Councillor Meads please propose?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally propose this motion. I emailed out some background information to all members on Monday. Hopefully you've all received it and had time to look at it. I first want to make it really clear that this motion is not intended to ambush or disrupt the process of the local development plan. It's actually to help the process. Whether new settlements are decided on or not, it is, if this motion is passed. The reason I'm told that the council pulled out of the Greater Nottingham plan when it went, and went it alone, was to bring forward the availability of affordable housing sooner and meet the government's new increased housing target. However, in rushing this draft plan through, a number of central issues have failed to be addressed by the plan, including with national planning policy and the government's own policy of establishing 10,000 new settlements to accommodate the very same increase in housing growth that this Gedling LDP seeks to address. This motion seeks firstly to ascertain whether all the benefits I've highlighted in my background information sent out on Monday are correct, and secondly, will help deliver new housing sooner if there is no selection of new settlements after all, because the failure to consider new settlements in the first place will be used by objectors at every new housing development submitted for approval during the life of this plan. Both myself and Michelle Welsh MP for Sherwood, who supports this motion, have individually met with planning officers over the last few weeks, and we could not be given credible reasons why new settlements could not be looked at, other than it goes against a spatial policy, a policy taken straight from the Greater Nottingham plan. The alternative to supporting my motion, either against or abstaining, ultimately means housing developments will be brought forward by property speculators and national house builders in completely unsuitable sites, sites that this council has previously thrown out as not suitable and undeliverable. Most of these sites in the existing LDP will be objected to and dragged through the legal process, in some cases for years, thus not providing the dash for new affordable housing at all. The process will ultimately be counterproductive. Instead, the proposed working group can feed into the process recommendations that will either propose new cohesive settlements, or if that's not the case, provide some defence against future objections. There's a few years left of this council, assuming LGR actually takes place. Wouldn't it be great if we could all work together, along with the planning staff, shaping new communities fit for the future, instead of immersing this council into lengthy legal battles with planning objections? And of course, we will be... And of course, we'll be alienating thousands of residents across the borough, which is in stark contrast to this council's motto of serving the public and improving lives. So I urge you, please, to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Meads. Councillor Whiting to second.
Second, Mr Mayor, and reserve the right to speak.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak on this? Councillor Sam Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If anyone wants to take this crown off me after my speech, I'm happy for them to do so. But I think I wear the crown of this council for being the biggest advocate for saving the green belt and saving our green spaces from housing plans. I did it under the Conservative government, and I lobbied government to scrap the housing targets, and they did. And I've certainly done it under this Labour government and this Labour council. So before I go on, I just want to stress that I am not giving that crown up, and I am going to continue to be the biggest advocate for protecting our green belt. But what an absolute nonsense this motion is. It is a complete nonsense, Councillor Meads. And I know you've only just been elected and you're new to this authority. But the plan that's gone to consultation over the summer has been worked up by our officers for more than a year, 2 years. How long is it? Maybe 2 or 3 years it's been worked upon. Councillors have been briefed along the process. We've had meetings with officers and the plan's gone to public consultation. Over the summer, Councillor Meads, you should have been out there with your residents telling them to take part in the consultation. Councillor Mike Adams and I have hosted a drop-in session at Stoke Bardolph, which the whole village turned up to. We did a drop-in session at Burton Joyce Parish Council that you're a chairman of, in the Kelverton Parish Council, where we asked the chairman to host a meeting on it, an extraordinary meeting over the summer. They did, and the whole village turned up. We've been hammering it through leaflets through doors, social media, websites, petitions, the lot, because there are sites within the local plan that I don't agree with, because it will increase flooding and it will increase highway traffic and it will increase noise levels and it will damage biodiversity and the green space that we all enjoy to use. That's what councillors should be doing, because that's the stage we're at in the process right now. We're not in the stage where we go back and come up with new sites and sit down and sit round a table and draw new conurbations, because that's been and gone. The officers have been doing that for years. Councillors have been feeding into that. It's a complete nonsense, this motion, for political purposes from your side, so you can go to Woodbury and Lamley that you don't represent and say how hard you've worked, Councillor Meads. Well, you're too late. You are too late in this chamber. You are too late. Go out there and what should have happened is encourage residents to take part in the consultation. And to reassure the chamber, all councillors can come back in a year or so when the plan comes to council, completed, after the officers have had time to absorb the feedback from residents. And I hope Trent Valley is the biggest contributor to that feedback. Otherwise, we'll have to work harder, Councillor Adams. But councillors will have a chance to see that feedback, see the amended plan that's been amended as a result of that feedback, and vote on it in this chamber. And we will have a chance to share our views and those of our residents. And that is exactly what we should be doing, not getting round to a table and redrawing a plan that's taken 2 years to get to. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Creamer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to keep it very simple, I agree with nearly everything that's been said by Councillor Smith about how things are going, but to actually point out part of what Councillor Smith said about it's been going 2 years, etc., etc. We are in mid-stage at the moment. We pulled out of the local plan, the Greater Nottingham plan, because we wouldn't have been able to make the tight deadlines at the time. We are now midstream in going through with the plan that's going through at the moment for the last 2 years, etc., etc. If we actually start changing plans now, trying new things, putting out new consultations, putting new properties in, new land, then we're going to delay the process and we'll be open to speculative land dealers. Now, Rushcliffe actually went through that a few years ago and it cost them millions. And it didn't help the residents, because if you haven't got an area in the local plan, they go, well, you haven't got an area, so we'll have it. And we like this patch, and it's as simple as that. So local residents don't get a real say, because it's the developers who will actually say, well, we want this because it's not in the plan. While we've got the plan going through, even though it's not completed, it's actually protecting now. because any developers will look at it and say, well, now that's up for consultation, that's in the plan, that's not in the plan, you can't do that. At this moment, we start changing things now. Speculators will be in within weeks, not years, by saying, well, you haven't got a viable plan, therefore we've got this land and we want it. And that helps absolutely nobody. It could cost the council millions in disputes, and it would cost the residents no say whatsoever in where things go. So I'll actually be opposing it as well. It's ridiculous to change midstream.
Thank you, Councillor Creamer. Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Smith so much. I shall have another tablet when I get home. I'll double the dose, Councillor Smith. Thank you. I'm going to repeat some of what's already been said, but Councillor Cream has already referred to the fact that we withdrew from the Greater Nottingham Strategic Plan, and that was because when we got the final revisions, the transitional arrangements had changed, meaning that we would not be able to meet the tight deadlines, and our plan would go increasingly out of date, and as Councillor Creamer says, we would be vulnerable to speculative development and applications. In terms of policies and the spatial strategy, yes, it has been retained from the Greater Nottingham Strategic Plan, along with other policy documents, and that's because, Councillor Mead, these policy documents are evidence-based, and they recognise that Gedling does not sit in isolation from its neighbours. So this motion is asking that we form a local development plan working group and revisit the reasonable alternatives and consider growth through new settlements. As Councillor Smith points out, a cross-party working group is already established and has overseen the preparation not only of this plan, but of previous plans as well. The opportunity is there for people to express opinions, object to certain aspects of the plan, and it has worked pretty well. The group will also oversee the preparation of the emerging Gedling Local Development Plan, and a meeting took place on the 2nd of June. A future meeting is planned to review the responses to the recent issues and options consultation, and a date will be confirmed in the coming weeks. Mr. Mayor, new settlements are characterised as being of large scale, largely self-contained, with a balanced mix of uses, including residential, employment, community facilities, together with the supporting infrastructure. A new towns task force was set up in September 2024 to make recommendations to government on a short list of town locations nationally with potential sites as a minimum of 10,000 homes to be sustainable. The housing need for Gedling Borough, and confirmed by the government standard methodology, is 11,358 up to 2043. The current supply is 6,743, leaving a residual requirement of 4,615, which is less than half the minimum threshold of 10,000 homes identified by the New Homes Task Force. More than 100 sites have been submitted to government, with the majority being urban extensions. The delivery of housing growth through new settlements would present significant risks for Gedling Borough. Firstly, new settlements would need to be very large, self-contained with homes, jobs and supporting services. And although delivering large capacity, delivery would be slow, as supporting infrastructure would need to be in place prior to houses being built. Consequently, smaller sites will still be needed to meet the minimum requirement of 631 homes per annum. Mr. Mayor, no large-scale sites have been promoted by landowners in the borough, so opportunities for new settlements are clearly limited and likely to be non-existent. And just for context, Mr. Mayor, a new settlement of 10,000 homes would require a land area 3 times the size of Calverton. And like Councillor Smith, while I was making these notes, I was thinking of residents seeing that we were going to look at new settlements and looking at not only greenbelt but agricultural land as well. Infrastructure costs would be very high and unlikely to be funded entirely by the private sector, so would require public subsidy. This would result in delivery delays and uncertainty. Unless the site is being professionally promoted by a willing landowner and is proven to be available, developable, deliverable and viable, this option would result in unnecessary, lengthy and ultimately abortive work by the council. A new settlement approach would not accord with the long-standing strategy of urban concentration and will be strongly challenged by developers who have been promoting edge of urban area schlar sites which are likely to be more sustainable. A new settlement approach is a major risk and could be found unsafe at examination, resulting in further work and delay, putting the council at risk of speculative planning applications if the council is unable to get a local plan adopted. New settlements which would not be self-contained is likely to result in unsustainable housing in remote locations where residents have to rely on services and facilities such as education and health in nearby settlements. In conclusion then, Mr Mayor, in June this year, the then local government minister urged planning authorities to continue work towards adopting local plans, and in his words, as soon as possible. The new Secretary of State, Steve Reid, has reaffirmed that he wants and expects to see housing delivery expedited. This, of course, is reliant on having a sound, up-to-date and adopted local plan. In a letter to council leaders, the Secretary of State says, "We recognise the critical role that local plans play in enabling housing delivery. That is why I will continue to drive forward universal coverage of local plans as a priority." The proposed eggs in one basket approach by Councillor Meads is a major risk, and to repurpose the existing cross-party working group and revisit reasonable alternatives to include unviable and unsustainable settlements would cause significant delay for no purpose. This would leave, I won't repeat that again, but it's true, speculative developments. It would certainly result in uncertainty and, my guess is, anxiety for residents and developers. For all these reasons, Mr Mayor, we will be voting against this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm going to disagree with my colleague, Councillor Smith, but only on one item, and that is I think I wear the crown of the, as the member who stands up for the green belt the most. And those of you who are on the delegation panel and on the planning committee with me may agree with me, I don't know. Just three very quick things, if I may. If I can read my own writing, that is. I think it's worth pointing out to all members that anybody who's concerned about these plans or specific areas of these plans can meet with officers and their colleagues at any time. I'm sure Mr Avery would agree that his door is always open and that of his colleagues. Again, I've said this before, but I'll reiterate it again to all members. The part of the reason why we are all so concerned about the Greenbelt in particular is the changes made to the NPPF. Those were made by this government in December, and I would urge you all to read them in detail and understand exactly what could happen to the Greenbelt under those changes. I think that's really important. And the last thing, just to reiterate, and final point really, if we pause this plan, then the current plan will run out of date. And if it runs out of date, that does lead us open to speculation. And I personally don't like saying that, but I'm afraid it is the truth. So anyway, that is my thoughts on the matter. Mr Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bestwick. I don't know who's got the crown, but I've got the bling, so. Councillor Catherine Pope, thank you.
Thank you. This is a point of order, really, but I don't understand that if we've already got a cross-party working group, why the motion wasn't ruled out of order in the first place. We've already had to listen to questions that are either in the jurisdiction of the county council or could have been, like the rest of us do, gone through councillor inquiries. So I don't really see why we're debating something that I think should have been ruled out of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pope. I'm not going to treat that as a point of order because the motion was accepted ultimately, so it is what it is. So, Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the face of it, a cross-party working group would seem sensible and is perhaps overdue, and such a group should and may already have been set up from the outset. However, I think to introduce such a group now would be counterproductive. It would add delay to the process and ultimately could lead to further problems for this council down the line, particularly if we aren't able to pass the plan in time. I'm no planning expert, but on the face of it, I don't see how a new settlement is feasible or practicable. Where would you put it? There isn't the space without eating up a huge amount of greenbelt land. So for those reasons, the Liberal Democrat group will also not be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments on this item from anyone? Okay then, Councillor Meads to close, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, it's not going to get voted through, but just taking exception to Councillor Smith. I think Calverton Parish Council's done more than any other area to engage with the public. We had a public meeting, not a drop-in meeting. We had a public meeting where about 450 people came to. I think we've had about 1,800 residents put pen to paper who disagree with the housing allocation for Calverton. So I take exception of what he's been saying, really. When I had a meeting with the planning policy manager, she never said anything about there's already another working group looking at it, anything else. She just would not give me an answer why we couldn't have a settlement. I was not, I've said all along, I wasn't in the business of delaying the process at all. I don't see why it would be a delay, so I don't see why we would be in danger of speculative development. I was just looking after the people that voted me in to try and stop ridiculous housing numbers in Calverton. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Meads. So the motion has been proposed and seconded, and there have been no amendments, so I'm going to move to the vote. All those in favour, please show. All those against? And any abstentions? That motion's failed. Thank you. So that's the end of the meeting. I'm having some refreshments in the Mayor's Parlour if anyone would like to join us. I would like to thank all members for attending this evening. And as this is our final item, I will now close the meeting. Thank you.
Members of the Council, members of the public, please be upstanding for the worship for the Mayor of Gedling.